They broke the mold when they made you, Bill.
Yeah, good for them, huh? Okay, on the line right now, her name is Dr. Tiffany Sanders, and I've been looking forward to this all morning long, Doc.
All year long.
Really so glad to have you on here.
Good. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Good morning. We have less agreeable personalities. And by the way, I don't know that I would disagree with you. I think that is me. I think I have a less agreeable personality. For good or bad?
In this study, so this new study that's out, they evaluated 83 participants, which is a very small sample size, and had them read an ad for a housemate, right? And so in this ad, there were typos and errors and things such as that. And so they judged the individuals based on what they wrote. So, and what they found is that individuals who were agreeable, not surprisingly, they were easygoing when it came to the grammar errors. Individuals who were extroverts, they also tend to, to look it over.
Yeah.
But those who were less agreeable and those who were introverts, they were more sensitive to the grammatical errors, and they were the ones that were more likely to get annoyed. So it's not that you're not just less agreeable. You might be an introvert, and you might be a little bit more prone to get annoyed at those things. And so that is the interesting thing about the study. So initially they thought maybe age, gender, education will kind of determine, your perceptions of someone's grammatical errors, but it's not. It's your personality trait.
You're probably right. And I think, Christine, we thought this was going to be from Manaski, but Andrew, you say this is not, Manaski's not the big corrector.
Right.
Although he has corrected me on a few occasions. You've corrected my mistakes. And sometimes we make these mistakes and you've done it your whole life and
mind-blowing.
Crick or creek. Well, it's creek, but you've said crick since you were a little kid.
I've said wreck.
You don't see it.
Since I was a little kid, and it's reek.
Right. When our families, sometimes we just speak the dialect or the language that, we typically have heard. And so we don't tend to think of that. So when someone corrects you, it's more sometimes, it's like, oh, hey, I just don't want you to look silly or stupid in a meeting.
Right,
so that's why I'm correcting you, right? But it's those sort of grammar Nazis that, based on your Facebook social post, or if you write something incorrectly, or if you say something incorrectly, they're always critiquing you. And those are the ones we do not want to hang out with, right? We're going to tend to ostracize those individuals. So those individuals got to be careful, because though they might be doing the world a service by saying, hey, you spelled or said something incorrectly, you may be hurting yourself in the long run, because people may not want to hang out with you.
And I'm okay with that. I'm sorry. It's well, I got to tell you though, I do wonder. I mean, first of all, I don't correct everybody. I would never correct everybody. I don't.
You wouldn't correct a guest, for example.
Absolutely
right?
not. I wouldn't.
Absolutely,
although I might have maybe once or twice, and that's wrong to do. I wouldn't do that. I'm self-assessing here, but narcissistic. Please bear with me, Doc. So. I wouldn't, but we're in a radio studio where if you say something incorrectly, you get hammered by people, whether it's social media or people texting you or whatever.
Right.
You're expected on a radio show, you're expected to at least reach a certain level, 3rd or 4th grade level. I don't know where we're supposed to be, but we should at least hit a certain level, don't you think?
I do radio and TV, and I agree with you. At times I'll go into a bookstore and I'll pick up a grammar book just to refresh myself on certain things that I learned as a child that I tend to forget, because when we talk with our friends, we tend to be a little bit more lax in our language, right?
Right, yeah.
And see, that's what, so you and I in this industry, of course we will do that. But just think about just you hanging out with your buddies, and they say, oh, well, no, that was the wrong there that you used.
Yeah, I would never do that.
Or you said that's the wrong version of to, or that's the wrong version of it. And I see people doing this all the time on social media, and I'm like, stop. Who are you to be my grammar teacher? And really, that person's personality is very stable. They've probably done this their entire lives. They probably correct people on other things. And what they probably aren't realizing is it could have interactions or affect your relationships later. Now, that wasn't assessed in the study, but I work with enough people to know that disagreeable or less agreeable personalities do not get very far.
Yeah.
I just have to tell you, Doc, that's a great point that you make on social media. And I'll tell you, personally, if I see someone make a mistake, like you said, there or it or to, if it's just like a Facebook post, I'll let it go. But if they're criticizing, like I'll say the New York State budget, right? Like the New York State budget is terrible. They're so stupid and they misspell it. I'm like, actually, you're the one who's stupid. I'll call them out in that situation.
I'm gonna give you a great example. And there was a social media site that was recently ripping on me a little bit, and I wasn't going to reference it, but I have to here because it applies. And on there, I was reading through this yesterday. On there was a guy or a woman that said, "Oh, he is." How was it?
Something with idiot.
It was idiot. It was like idiot.
Idiot.
And then somebody corrected them afterwards. So listen, if you're going to call somebody an idiot, you probably want to get it grammatically correct. Right,
exactly. You know, I think sometimes people forget because they talk in, informal language when they're speaking with their friends that they're not actually using the right verb tense or the right language.
Yeah.
But, in those situations, you just look at them and say, if that person is making a post about you, they got other issues going on, is what I would think.
Well, and you bring up a good point with that. There's a time and a place. Like if I'm on the air and I make a grammatical error and somebody corrects me, okay, I need to be corrected because I'm speaking at that. But if so for instance, there was the other day, I gotta bring this up. We were just in an after show meeting and I had misspoke and, you had to correct me and I was like, all right, well, just move on.
Yes, I had to correct you because you will use it on the air.
You can't.
Well, no, I felt like I would have used it.
Sometimes people correct you in public in front of others, which causes embarrassment and humiliation. I know that you guys aren't doing that, but that's what sometimes these grammar Nazis do.
Right.
It's how you do it. Pull them aside and say, I think you might have said that wrong. Or, do it casually in a very matter-of-fact way and just kind of go on with the conversation.
Well, we're
overdo it.
We're in a meeting with just the three of us. So, yes, I caught that, Christine,
but
I wasn't going to say anything.
I wish you would have, because it would have just gone right into the whole thing.
What did I say?
Misspoken?
You said I had misspoke. But it's our job. That's our job. We're editors.
Andrew pushed the mic away.
We're critiquing his critique of us here at this point, Doc. So I think we're going to have to let it go.
Thanks,
do you
Doc.
have a book or anything? It's My Purpose is for Real: 7 Simple Steps to Get Back on Track to Achieve Your Dreams. That's your book. I really kind of enjoy this conversation because it definitely hits home for us.
Thank you for having me, guys.
All right, thanks for coming on. And by the way, for those that don't know, Christine and I really not only sometimes make these corrections and sometimes get corrected ourselves, but Christine is a tough one to correct. I have to tell you, we went over the word often and versus often.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
And I was chastised over saying the word often and told that the word is often. And it hit me, and I always say often from here forward. And we had that conversation, and Christine... It went, and my son does the same thing to me. You found so many different references where both are correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
However,
just say often. This is the conversation I had with my son.
Is that what she said?
Just say no. That's what I said. Just say often.
Said.
Don't. The T is not hard. Just say often. T is silent, and it's the classic way. It's how you should speak. And if you, of all people, who spell the classic way,
right?
You spell more of a British.
Well, and that's because that's how I was taught originally, and that's hard for me to difficult.
It's hard
for me
to go back. It's hard to go back from. Anyway, it's a big thing here for us, and I'm sure we probably have made a grammatical mistake while we've been talking about this. We make mistakes.
3 minutes,
People hammer us on it. So all we're trying to do with you, Andrew, is hope that you're not going to make that mistake on the air, because people really do judge us by the words that we, the way we use these words. So. Like it or not, it is what it is. This is the biz. 8:23. Hold on, coming right back. Hey, her name is Brianna Kiesel. She's a Utica native, Proctor, WNBA, and she's in town being honored. We're going to speak with her coming up next on WIBX.